Welcome back. So the schedule for the World of Outlaws was released today with 86 races on the calendar at 40 different racetracks, 22 different states, and 8 new tracks to the schedule that were not on the schedule last year. When I say the new tracks, there are a couple of them that the Outlaws have gone to in previous years. But when I say new tracks, I mean that they were not on the schedule in 2025. So, like I said, there are 8 of those. And also, if you are curious, there are 2 tracks on the schedule that both the Outlaws and High Limit Racing both go to. I will be pointing those out as this video goes along. But 86 races, a very busy, very busy schedule for the Outlaws in 2026. And you'll see a lot of the same names coming across as far as racetrack names. A lot of people don't particularly like that part of the Outlaw schedule, but you don't fix what is not broken. You don't change what isn't broken, right? Names like Volusia, Eldora, Williams Grove, Knoxville, Huset's, Charlotte, Eldora, did I say that already? Those tracks are going to pop up a lot here on the schedule, and it is a big part of their schedule going to those premier facilities. But they start things off, of course, as they always do, on February 4th at the Volusia Speedway Park in Florida, and that is actually the first 6 races of the season. The first 4 of those races are the Dirt Car Nationals, February 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then they take about a month off, come back, and run the Bike Week portion of the Volusia Speedway Park. That is on March 1st and on March 2nd. Then a few days later, they go to Alabama, the Talladega Short Track, which is just down the street from the Talladega Super Speedway, where NASCAR races out, of course. And then a day later, they go over to Mississippi and the Magnolia Motor Speedway, otherwise known as the MAG. A few days later, a week later to be exact, it is the one and only stop in Texas this year, which was, I saw quite a few complaints about that. They're only going to Texas for one weekend. It's the Kennedale Speedway Park on the 13th of March and the 14th of March as well. And then a week later, they go to the Lawton Speedway in Oklahoma, which has been on the schedule for the last couple of years. And then we get to the first new track, and one that I am personally very excited about. I have seen a lot of races on video of Creek County Speedway, and I feel like whatever races there seems to put on a really good show. I'm not sure how many fans that place holds, but Creek County Speedway in Oklahoma, that is going to be cannot miss television from what I have seen there in the past with ASCS and that old ASCS non-wing division, or the USAC Southwest Series. They used to go there. Creek County always put on a show. A week later, they do return the US 36 Raceway in Missouri, one of the best tracks in the state of Missouri. Love going to US 36 there in Osborne. That is on March 27th. And then March 28th, they are at the 81 Speedway, which is one of 2 tracks on the schedule that both High Limit and the Outlaws go to. The Outlaws go to 81. I want to say it's about 2 weeks or so before High Limit comes to town. And so 81 Speedway, for anybody around that area, you're going to get to see the Outlaws and High Limit within about a 2-week span there in Kansas. And then on April 10th, they go to I-55 Raceway for the first time on the season at the Federated Auto Parts Raceway in Missouri. That is on April 10th and 11th. And on April 17th, they go to one of the, in my opinion, the best weekend on the schedule. It's Jacksonville Speedway in Illinois. And one night later, my personal favorite racetrack in the country, and that is the Tri-State Speedway in Hobstadt, Indiana. A few days later, they are back, or they are at the Knoxville Raceway, for the first time on the season, of course, in Knoxville, Iowa. And, usually they have quite a few dates before the Knoxville Nationals. This year, they did add an extra date at Knoxville. And so that is the first time they go there, though, on April 24th and 25th. And then on May 1st and May 2nd, it's a stop in Ohio at the Attica Raceway Park and the Sharon Speedway just across the border from Pennsylvania. May 5th and May 8th and 9th, they go to Pennsylvania. It is the Lincoln Speedway on the 5th, and then a doubleheader for the Williams Grove. Oh, goodness, what's the name of it? It's not the Summer Nationals. It's not the National Open. The Morgan Cup. The Morgan Cup on the 8th and 9th at the Williams Grove Speedway. A week later, Eldora Speedway for Let's Race 2 with the USAC National Sprint Cars on May 15th and May 16th. Then there is that bonus date at Knoxville Raceway they added in there on May 23rd. One night later, they go to the Houston Speedway on May 24th, and they make their way up to North Dakota. It's the River City Speedway in North Dakota. Of course, that is in Grand Forks. and a new track to the schedule compared to last year at the Nodak Speedway in North Dakota as well. And then another new track on the schedule for next year, it is the Hartford Speedway in Michigan. So Michigan is going to get 2 national touring dates next year, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that are going to be happy about that. Michigan fans are starved for 410 sprint car racing when it comes to the national level. Now they've got High Limit at Butler and the Outlaws at Hartford. That is on June 5th. Right after that Hartford stop, they go to Wisconsin for the first time in what is a busy, year for them in the state of Wisconsin. But the first time they go there is on make that June 6th at the Plymouth Dirt Track, which put on a whale of a show this year with the Outlaws. That was the race probably best known for when Larson flipped into the catch fence over there. But if you forget that part of it, it was a really, really good race. That place, the surface there is very, very good. So Plymouth Dirt Track there on June 6th. June 7th, it's the Angel Park Speedway as well in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. And then back to Knoxville on June 6th, or make that June 12th and June 13th. And then that leads right into the Huset's High Bank Nationals. 4 straight nights there on June 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. And we do know that is going to pay, what, $300,000 to win next year? Or is it $350,000? Is it $300,000 or $350,000? I cannot remember, but it's paying a lot of money on that 20th date. Also on the 18th, I believe that one pays $100,000 as well. So a very lucrative week there at Huset Speedway. And then 2 nights at the Cedar Lake Speedway in Wisconsin on June 26th and 27th, and 2 nights as well at the Wilmot Raceway. They do have July 4th off there. Wilmot Raceway, though, on July 10th and July 11th. So that is the first 44 races of the 2026 World of Outlaws schedule. Let's flip the board around and take a look at the second half of the schedule. Second portion of the schedule is now on the board, and this is where I remind you as well, if you need to zoom in on your phone, you are able to do that on YouTube. Just kind of pinch on the screen and you could zoom in a little bit farther to read the writing and the dates and all that good stuff. But continuing on here, on July 14th, they are at Attica Raceway Park. That is for the Brad Doty Classic. And then on July 17th and 18th, it is the night before and the Kings Royal at the Eldora Speedway in Ohio. And then they head back across the border to the Ohsweken Speedway in Ontario, Canada on July 21st and July 22nd. That was a big hit this year, so no surprise they're going back up there to compete in Canada. And fun fact, I was actually at that race this year. It was a very good show. There's a great facility as well over there at Ohsweken. And then that leads right into a swing through New York at the Weed Sport Speedway, one of my top 5 favorite racetracks. That is on July 25th and July 26th. That leads them right into a Pennsylvania swing at the Baps Motor Speedway on the 29th, and then 2 nights for the Summer Nationals on July 31st and August 1st at the Williams Grove Speedway. 2 nights at I-55 Raceway in Peebly, Missouri, leading right into, of course, the Knoxville Nationals, the granddaddy of them all, August 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. That one, I believe, is up to a $200,000 payout in 2026. July 21st, Ogilvie Raceway in Minnesota and the Jackson Motorplex in Minnesota as well. And then back over to North Dakota on July 28th, River City Speedway, and July 29th, the Red River Valley Speedway in Fargo, North Dakota. And then the final stretch of the season is right here on the right side of the board. They go back to Huset's on September 4th, 5th, and 6th. Cannot remember the name of that race, but it's a 3-day show at Huset Speedway. And then on September 11th, it's a new track to the schedule, and one that I am super excited about, especially playing R-Factor back in the day on the computer, Belleville High Banks over in Kansas. That is going to be cannot miss television there. And the Dodge City Raceway Park also on the schedule. As you can see, that arrow indicating that is also a track that the High Limit Series will go to. So Outlaws and High Limit going to Dodge City Raceway Park in 2026. And then they've got the West Coast Swing in there. That is a TBA as of right now for 4 straight, or not 4 straight nights, but 4 nights of action, 2 separate weekends. And the word on the grapevine is it's going to be 2 nights at Calistoga for the Dennis Roth Classic, and the other 2 nights, I'm being told, I've heard, Stockton and the Ocean Speedway. So keep an eye. That could be what the schedule looks like out there on the West Coast for the Outlaws. And then they go from California back over to Pennsylvania at the Williams Grove Speedway for the National Open on October 2nd and 3rd. Then they go to that new weekend for Sheldon Haudenschild's Buckeye Brawl, Millstream Speedway on the 8th, the 9th at Mansfield Speedway. Great to see Mansfield Speedway is going to indeed get a National Touring Sprint Car date. That'll be on October 9th. October 10th, Sharon Speedway in Ohio, so a 3-race stretch there through Ohio. And then on October 16th, it is the Lincoln Park Speedway in Indiana. And then following that is a TBA date. That was the LaSalle date from this year. Not sure what they're going to try and fill in there. Hopefully it's somewhere in Indiana because Indiana needs more wing sprint cars. They've got some of the best racetracks. Get more wing sprint car races in Indiana. That's all I've got to say about that. And then how about this weekend as well? October 23rd and 24th. It's the Short Track Nationals being sanctioned by the Outlaws at the Texarkana 67 Speedway in Arkansas. That is a really cool weekend. Looking forward to that one. And then, of course, they finish things off with the World Finals at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Dirt Track in North Carolina. That is 4 straight nights, November 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And that is where they will crown the 2026 World of Outlaws champion. So let me know your thoughts on the schedule, guys, down in that comment section below. What of the new tracks do you like? Which tracks do you wish they would have had on there? Let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts and more. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys again here soon on the Rodman Rundown. Not tomorrow, though, because I'm heading to Indiana for a wedding, so I will be out of the office tomorrow, but I will be back on Monday. So stay tuned for another video. Thank you all so much for watching. Talk to you again soon.